This is just a quick video about Lexan in whitewater jet boats. And you can see I parked the boat here deliberately in my shop so that the sunlight from the window is coming across the window here. And you can see that it's kind of dirty here, and that is relevant. Lexan is more difficult to keep clean than glass. Now in the past I've tried all sorts of cleaning fluids and with mixed results. You know, it would get a little better. You can say, well, you know, that's pretty good. But here, you can see what I've done, and so the light is on this just perfectly, so it shows all the dirt really well. And then this is a spot that I've polished using Pledge. And this orbital sander thing that I got from Harbor Freight. I don't know how much it was. It's actually, they're a sort of good brand. So it might have been, I don't know, 70 or 80 bucks or something like that. But this is well worth it. And we use these polishing bonnets on the orbital grinder or orbital polisher. And I got these at Harbor Freight also. So inexpensive stuff works. Just using elbow grease, I always ended up saying, well, you know, that could be quite a bit better still. But here, you know, that's pretty transparent. And all this glop, you know, out in regular sunlight, you don't really notice that too much until the sun is on it, like it is right now. So you can see, you know, that's horrible. Anyway, the lemon pledge and the orbital sander solved the problem, and I'm pretty sure, not 100% confident, let's say 99.9% confident, that it is not removing the mar-resistant finish on this Lexan. Now some people might ask, well, why do you need Lexan at all? Why don't you just use glass? Well, glass tends to push through the window holes when you take a really severe face plant. I took a face plant one time that caved in the front window, about half the front window, and crushed the dash, and the whole thing was displaced by, I don't know, maybe a foot at the worst, and everything was bent, and I had a Lexan bolted in window, and that bent along with the aluminum, and everything was fine. It didn't blow out at all. The only place water came in was over the top where the canvas ripped off. Had that been glass, then the glass would have blown through the window for sure. There would have been a big hole there, maybe 2 holes, and the boat would have filled up with water really fast. So that's why Lexan is a good idea. And my side windows are also Lexan, and you know, notice that I've got these braces bolted on here. And Lexan itself is not very stiff, so it'll actually blow out when you're going down a 2-lane highway and you go past a semi going the other way. You know, so 70 miles an hour times 2, that's 140 miles an hour difference, and it'll just suck the window right out of the side of the boat. And you know, if you take a side hit with a wave, it'll just push the window in. So you have to stiffen it somehow, and this seems to do the job. Just bolt these guys in, one at the leading edge and one at the trailing edge of each window. That seems to do the job. And so here you can see in this little thumbnail video, I took a severe sideways hit, and that would have probably blown out glass, and if it had been unsupported Lexan, that would have blown out too. But because of this Lexan with the stiffeners, everything was fine, well, almost fine. You know, everything was pretty fine. Okay, here this dirty Lexan is in just regular even light rather than a direct beam of light from a window. So, you know, you can see it's really not all that noticeable in just normal light. The Lexan is easy to install in the window frame. You just cut it to size, and then you can bend it, put it in the frame, and then add the vertical supports. It's really easy to bend. It's really easy to work with. Lexan is one of the most forgiving materials on the planet to work with. Lots of people are kind of timid about working with it, and so they go to a professional or something like that. You don't have to do that. It's really, really easy to work with. It does not shatter. It's not like glass or some plastic that's really brittle. It is tough. It is tough, which is the opposite of brittle. And here's a scrap of this Macrolon. I don't know if it says Macrolon. I don't have the complete word here anywhere, but anyway, this is Macrolon Lexan, and it says abrasion resistant. The rest of that word is resistant. And so you want abrasion resistance on both sides. That way the windshield wiper won't just scratch it immediately. So here's the skinny scrap I've got clamped to this table, and see, I can do this. And you think, oh my God, it's going to break, it's just going to snap. And it's like, no, it doesn't. I'm pushing on that pretty hard. You know, nothing happens and it comes back to where it started. Eventually, if I push it far enough, it will just deform. It's not going to snap. Okay, here we got a piece of Lexan in this little baby press brake. It's also a Harbor Freight 12-ton shop press with this press brake widget in here. So let's see what happens. Okay, we're bending, bending. Keeps bending. Okay, now we're bent all the way, and I can keep pushing this and ramming this into it, but then it's just going to squish the plastic. So let's release this and see what happens. Well, there you go. It's permanently deformed plastic. So you can see it's stretched really nicely. There's no sign that it's really cracking there. You know, so it is tough. You know, it looks like the press started to dent it a little bit. If I'd kept going, it would have probably just sheared it. So as you can see, there's absolutely no sign that this is going to shatter and break like some fragile or brittle plastics or glass. It is tough. Okay, here we are cutting one-handed with a skill saw. There we go. Makes these little tiny shavings. Okay, drilling one hand with a step drill. See, it's just pulling off these long pieces of plastic as it goes through. There we go. Nice and easy. There's no hint that this is going to shatter. You can just drill it normally. I've heard people say, oh, you got to drill it with the drill going backwards, or heat up the drill bit first, or something like that. No, just drill it. Lexan is like the easiest thing to work with. The easiest thing. I suppose the only really difficult thing when it comes to boats is that you have to bolt the Lexan in place. So here you can see it's bolted in. The silicone sealant itself isn't going to stick to the Lexan real well. I mean, it does stick, but it doesn't take much to separate it. So you have to have some kind of mechanical hold to keep the Lexan onto the aluminum or the painted aluminum. And sometimes I see Lexan installed with this overlap really small, and I think that's an aesthetic thing, but it does make it weaker. And Macrolon, and therefore Lexan, have an opinion about that. And here you can see it right here. So this is the corner of a piece of Lexan, and here you're drilling a hole, and with a bolt and a washer and stuff, and then it says 20 millimeters, greater than 20 millimeters from the edge to the hole. From the edge to the hole. 20 millimeters is about 4/5 of an inch. So let's just round it to 3/4, kind of the same. So you want that hole to be 3/4 of an inch in. Pretty much nobody does that on their installations on whitewater jet boats, but that kind of gives you something that the Lexan folks think is appropriate. To cut the Lexan accurately for a window, what you do is get some sacrificial stuff like this piece of blue plastic here. I think this was some kind of protective packing material that came on a pallet or something I ordered, I forget what. But anyway, You cut a piece that's substantially too big for the window, then lay it up against the window, hold it securely, then trace around the edge, and then cut that out. Now you have a piece of plastic that fits exactly into the window. Then lay that on your Lexan and trace around it, you know, an inch or so, inch and a quarter bigger all the way around, and then you've got your Lexan sized correctly. Well, from here this looks almost perfectly clean. But when you walk up to it and you got this the sun actually reflecting off of it, then you can start to see, well, no, there's a little bit of smokiness there. Still a little bit of water spottiness. So maybe I'll see what I can do to make it absolutely perfect, so it's like absolutely new Lexan. Okay, so this part of it was as per my original cleaning, and then I just kind of left the polisher kind of just going around here for, I don't know, about 5 minutes. Yeah, it's a little bit better. I think it's at a point of diminishing returns, and you know, I'm inclined to say, well, that's good enough. You know, I don't just feel like polishing and polishing and polishing. You know, unless the sun is on it at this particular angle, you really don't notice that there's dirt on it. It's kind of like black cars look better in the shade, and well, these boat windows look better when there's not sunlight coming in at a inopportune angle. There, the sun kind of goes behind a bit of a cloud, and like magic, the window looks absolutely perfect.